So in order to mount these fiberglass fenders, most people use rivets. I don't like to use rivets because I like to have things to be serviceable. So what do? I use a good old nutsert tool. You can actually get one of these on Amazon for 40 bucks. It's perfect. And it comes with a little kit. You don't get this many M6s. You only get like this many of everything. But these are pretty cheap, and it's good to buy them in bulk like I did. So essentially what this allows you to do is it allows you to install whatever it is you're installing in a manner in which you can remove it later. It makes your life a lot easier, makes everybody's life a lot easier, especially if you crash and you need to pull some shit apart.
You don't know. There's a picture in my mind of us. Tell me now. Please tell me that you see the way I look at you. The words I try to say.
Now, making a curly cord harness involves using tools that are normally not accessible for folks like myself and potentially the viewer. However, I can still make a curly cord harness with stuff that I have sitting around at home, which is what I did here. And in order to make it, all I used was a jack arm, a heat gun, some aluminum foil, and zip ties. The process for making the actual harness is actually simple, right? All you need to do is to curl it around this jack arm as tight as you can get it to be. And then you heat it with the heat gun over a sink. I read that online. And note that I'm trying to go as tight as I can. Don't worry about the wires, they'll be fine. And oh boy, this is gonna be a big harness. Things you don't say in BDSM. A lot of these video tutorials don't make it clear that for some of this, you need to do it yourself to really understand what's happening. At this time, all that was left was to solder the wires to the buttons on the wheel. The car will be used for more than occasional track days in Pikes Peak. The hope is to be able to participate in at least one endurance event this year. For this reason, aside from the standard buttons allocated to the high beam and the horn, there will also be buttons that will take the task of powering the water feed, the radio connection, and the auxiliary for any additional features if some end up being added. The wires will be finished with 6-pin and 8-pin Doge connectors, of which only the 6-pin will be used for the time being. After the wheel was done, the dash had to be addressed next. My brother saw me trying to make the original mock-up of the gauge cluster using cardboard, and suggested I just take a few measurements and use a 2D CAD program like Illustrator instead. Talk about a good call, as I proceeded to use Illustrator not only for the gauges, but also for the switchboard. The gauges were held in a 1mm thick carbon sheet that was attached to the CCP fabrication dash using a couple of Odyssey L brackets and 4 countersunk Allen bolts with accompanying countersunk washers. The final touches involved finally putting the windshield in the car and loading it to take it to Streets of Willow for the Alpha Club event. Alpha Club of Southern California hosts a school event once or twice a year consisting of 2 days of educational driving for drivers of all levels. Beginners get to learn car control and general limits of their vehicles, making them that much better drivers. while the advanced race group goes through more starts in one weekend than a racer does in one season of wheel to wheel. It is an awesome place to take your car to the limits and the perfect low stress environment for the Pinata to go through its first shakedown in years. The event is not Alpha exclusive, and it wouldn't be weird to find a unicorn such as a 2JZ powered Mustang somewhere in the paddock. One of the classes involves drowning the skid pad in water and challenging the students to maintain control regardless of the conditions. Needless to say, to me that sounded like a great opportunity to see how easily I could toss this car around.
Well, this is why you get called shakedowns. You start figuring out the problems on the cars.
Finally, it was track time. After a few warm-up runs, I came to get used to the car and its limits, which isn't difficult when you only have 90 wheel horsepower to tame. I learned about its quirks and was ready to go for a full dive, and that's when I remembered a few things. First, I remembered that I never got the right brake pads in the front, hence why the rears were locking up. Second, I remembered that I never serviced my shifter turret, which resulted in gear oil splashing its way into the cabin. Thankfully, it wasn't bad. 3, I remembered that I had an autocross compound tire in the front and a track compound in the back, which meant that the front was warming up way too quick and also overheating way too quick. The rear, in the meantime, was maintaining temperature very well. That resulted in me going into 3 while drifting and understeering at the same time. And I gotta say, I was having the time of my life with this car. Just me behind the wheel of a bitchin' car on a lawless road. All the work put in by everyone towards getting this car to the track started to add up very quickly in my head, and I decided it would be a disservice to everybody who's contributed to this to leave the track without squeezing everything this car had.